welcome to another video about Europa Universalis 5. Yesterday we got a Tinto talk that I think generally was received positively, but there was something within it that people have generally not seen quite so positively, and that is this, the complacency mechanic. Now, I'm showing you the image that we got from the dev diary itself, so this is from yesterday, and even here we see Prestige Decay got removed earlier today. The proximity cost also in the comments of the thread said it was going to get removed, and then there was going to be a research malice. So the current, this is what it got changed to. This is what it got changed to, and if we can compare them side by side, we can see what is going on. When you are at 100 complacency, you will now get +1 monthly prosperity. Armor Tradition Decay, Naval Tradition Decay goes down. 50 Research Progress Malice. Estate Enrichment +20%. This is how much money your estates are getting from the taxes that they're getting from the various buildings and such. Efficiency of Cabinet -50 rather than -100, and then Pops joining Rebel Threshold +10. So there are some very big differences. The Loyalty of Subjects is gone. Trade efficiency is gone. Tax efficiency is gone. Very much different. Old one, new one. And when I saw this complacency mechanic, and I was looking at this one, right? But I knew pretty early on, no proximity, no prestige. When I saw this, my immediate thought in my head was that it wasn't a negative thing. It wasn't a, oh, this is terrible, I can't believe they've done anything, this is silly, this is stupid, what the hell are they thinking? It never came across to me as a hugely negative thing. My idea, the thought that I had in my head was, oh, this is something that you could think of how the rest of the world caught up to China. China being, the center of basically everything, progress, research. They invented all of these different things, but they didn't do anything with it. They didn't go colonizing. They didn't go, and basically they stayed in their own little corner of the world until the Europeans caught up. And that, to me, seemed, oh, they got complacent. They were so incredibly much powerfuler than every country around them. They got complacent, and this is something. Maybe, we're looking at individual modifiers and thinking, oh, is this making sense? Is this making sense? But I was thinking in the more overarching, overriding, oh, the vibes of this make sense to me. And that's where I basically came from. And that's not where most people, or I'm not going to say most people, because that's silly, making generalizations like that. That's not where some people came across with it. If I go over to Reddit, we had this thread here. New complacency mechanic looks dreadful. Is this some kind of joke? Astonished that the idea even made it past a brainstorming session. There is a huge amount of a backlash against it, and 1,400 upvotes is not a small amount. Top comments: misery mechanic. Some form of complacency is good. I agree with that. Doing it based on lack of rivals doesn't feel very good, and this is where a lot of people are coming down as well, saying that it is bad because of the primary way, or does it say primary? Yeah, primarily from not having threatening rivals. People are coming at this from a case of, when I am playing the game, I often become so much more powerful that I am unable to get rivals anymore. I think that is one of the reasons why rivalries have been opened up, and you can now rival basically anybody. I do still think it needs to have some limitations, but, it's much more open than it was previously. For example, if you're playing as the Eastern Roman Empire, you could not, or you cannot in the current game, this update hasn't come out yet, you can't rival the Ottomans. And I would say the Ottomans probably has a pretty decent-sized threat against the Romans. And while that is a very specifically true for the Eastern Roman Empire, it's obviously not true if you play as, say, France. Your threat is probably just going to be Castile and England, perhaps. Maybe Bohemia's looking at a Poland and a Hungary as their threatening ones, but the big countries are going to struggle to get enough threat reduction from rivalries, and if that is the primary way, then that's not really great for them. But again, I'm looking at this from a case of, if you are so much more powerful than the rest of your neighbors, having something that kind of slows you down, I don't know if that's like the worst thing in the world. And also, I just want to point out once again, this is at 100% complacency. 100% is not something that you are going to be at without some incredibly specific situations. Like, I could see Yuan, if they survive and you know, the Red Turban Rebellion doesn't screw them over, I could see them maybe hitting 100 complacency, but I really don't see, you know, your standard European superpower from hitting 100 until, you know, quite late in the game at that. We don't, the reason I'm not really jumping at, this is freaking terrible, is because we just don't know what level of complacency your standard average player is going to be sitting at. If I'm just sitting at like a, you know, 5% complacency, 10% complacency, I don't really think that's going to be a huge deal. The worst thing in here, excuse me, of course, is the research progress. Obviously, right now, research progress is the worst thing in here. Obviously, efficiency cabinet's not great, but, you know, I think I can deal with this, and maybe we'll look at this one instead, because this is what people were complaining about. Obviously, tax and trade efficiency, it sucks. But at 100, you're losing 20. Even if you are super gigapower, you've got like a plus 40% tax efficiency. Sure, you're losing out on 20 of it. Half of that, you know. But you're not going to be at 100 complacency. So what numbers are we actually going to see? I think that is a problem that we've seen quite a bit, right? These numbers are being shown to us when you are at the absolute maximum. And we saw the same with the societal values. When you are the absolute maximum level possible, these are the negative numbers, and these are really big numbers that you will be suffering from. And that's just not the way that people are going to actually experience these mechanics. You know, you're just not going to be at 100, especially at the start of the game, but just not in general. You know? So, with that said, there was a bit of a backlash. There was a little bit of a thought that maybe Paradox was getting complacent. No, people weren't happy. There were people that were not happy. And I think we had a few people, a nice amount of people, that did not enjoy it. That's fair. We had today, a few hours ago, a thread that Yuhan made, and it was basically a complete discussion thread. This is something that we've gotten previously. This is something we're going to be getting maybe a little bit more of in the future, and that is essentially, let's talk about the specific thing that is going to change. Let's talk about it. Let's have a directed, this thread is for this thing, rather than, threads about, or, topics and discussions about various mechanics being spread all throughout the forum. This is one that was seen as a problem with the community, therefore we're going to have a specific discussion about it. So, it was not a system which took a lot of time to implement, as the architecture for a value in a country with changes and impact is really easy to work at, about 25%, 25-30% of the time of an average bug. Starting with this is silly, right? I feel like you should start with, why am I making this thread? Instead of just a numbered bullet point of just jumping in. And I think this is especially bad because people are going to jump on this and be like, oh, you rushed into this? He's not saying the thinking about how this mechanic should be, or thinking about, oh, maybe we should make something like this. The design process isn't something that he's saying took no time to implement. It is on a code-wise, how long did it take me to type the various, squiggly brackets in the source code of EU5? How long did that take? Not very long. Less time than it takes to, crush a bug. The content, we're developing similar systems in script for different situations and disasters. So the centralized system, it gives content designers far more time to fix other problems with situations and IOs. I guess when you are working with content, say, I mean, because the Red Turban Rebellion is something that they're going to be updating and refreshing for Rossback, so Red Turban Rebellion definitely could have a look at the complacency mechanic. That seems like a very reasonable thing. And it fitted nicely with the reworked rival system. Rival system, something that very few people are enjoying right now, myself included. And yeah, why did they make it? It fit nicely. That's fair. It's also receiving some heavy tweaks at the moment. So, monthly gains and losses. This is, really very useful. Minus 0.05 from target of a coalition. Most people are gonna have this. Most people are gonna have this at some point. Every threatening country that set you as a rival, with rivalries being opened up, I think this is more likely to be higher than usual. Minus 0.01 from each threatening country that you set as a rival, 0.02 from every possible rival that is not a threat. That's going to be really useful for. I mean, I feel like this is really like if you have opened up the rivalry system, unless I'm just misunderstanding how this line is being read. And if you have opened up the rivalry system, so France has got like now a list of 150 people that they can rival because the Holy Roman Empire is opened up to them. Every possible rival that is not a threat is growing it. Like, this is a plus right here. I don't know. Revanchism, something that not very many people know is in the game, mostly because it's just not as visible as it is in EU5. Or, sorry, EU4. If you have war declared on you, then you lose it. And if you are in a civil war or something else that people were going to be in relatively frequently, maybe not, then you also lose it. Currently, it takes 100 years to get from 0 to 100 with no reductions at all as an empire, where you've expanded and are so strong that nobody wants to form a coalition against you or attack you. Current effects at max complacency. And then also, this is the complacency of France, and it's still coming down. I don't know. I don't. Is there some equilibrium situation? So he's put it at 100, and therefore it's always going to come down. I don't know. I don't know. Like, I did not see it as a wholly negative thing when we saw it here, right? And now it's becoming, I guess, quite nerfed again. I don't know if I see it negatively at all, right? There's not anything here that I'm thinking, oh, this is absolutely awful. Are there other ways to show, like, people have always been asking for things that cover, like, the decline of empires. And while having, like, a situation that will be like, yeah, this is the decline of your empire, disaster, right? That's like a big tentpole event that happens. But tent poles don't get put up just out of nowhere. They, there's a gradual slide into them. I would say that complacency is a pretty decent way of showing how large countries. I mean, the annoyingly, the word I'm looking for is just the word of the mechanic, right? Large countries becoming complacent. I am so much more powerful. I'm just gonna sit back. I'm gonna do nothing. I'm happy. I am complacent. Like, is that? I feel like that's pretty easy to understand. There's nothing in here that I'm thinking, oh yeah, no, this makes no sense for a large country with no threats. Why did Europe manage to develop the naval technology required to cross a fat ocean? They had threats beside them. They had competition between them. So they had the impetus to continually improve their naval technology to the point where they could cross fat oceans. Why did the Ming, the Qing, the whatever Chinese dynasty, Why did they not cross fat oceans? They just had no impetus. They were content. They were complacent. Why was their army so much worse than, say, the British in the 1800s? Because they had no drive to improve their institutions, their systems, their military, their anything, until they had a threat. Until they, until that tea was required of them. No, this isn't something that I see as, like, ahistorical. I don't personally understand the backlash all that much. Anyway, I've just clicked developer only posts to see if there is anything in here. You can see arguments for the mechanic make sense. It also feels like a band-aid solution. Weren't we promised that big countries will organically have the internal stability issues? I feel like this is an organic way of having issues like that. I don't know. Game desperately needs some kind of nobility estate factions that operate on the outer provinces. Currently, the estates don't get much income from outer provinces. They're also very easy to get in line. Blah, blah, blah. Complacency is a... word. I nailed that word. It's not there to get empires to fall apart. It's there to make empires stagnate and slow down. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. There was a big talk about making all systems in a simulation organic works, and now we need gamey systems that are too artificial. I don't see it as a gamey system that's too artificial. Yeah. I don't disagree with you on here. And I know I can be seen as a, EU5's strongest defender, blah blah blah. I've seen that comment about me. Like, I feel like I have been pretty good at, holding Paradox's feet to the fire when it comes to various things. I'm certainly not Paradox shill, right? Am I EU5 shill? I don't think I am. I honestly don't think I am. I think I've been pretty fair, and I don't know, maybe I'm just finding myself on this mechanic on the other side of the fence to most people. I don't know. If it didn't take long to implement, then don't feel bad about scrapping it. Oh my god. Please balance existing mechanics first. Like, this could be a part of the balancing system. Yeah, okay. As he says here, it is part of balancing the rival system. Yeah. I know. I don't know. I don't like this. Just work on what there's already there before adding more stuff. Like, I don't know. Maybe my brain just doesn't work the same way. After all the negative feedback you've had so far, it's made zero impact for the game. That's just a lie. It makes these states richer and the crown poorer, which has other impacts on other aspects of the game for large empires. It's fair. Does not setting rivals actually protect you from that? No, an empty rival slot is considered non-threatening. Fair enough. Make low control locations more annoying. Make war exhaustion do something real. I mean, this part I feel like is a bug, right? At a certain point during the time where I've had the game, war exhaustion was an absolute freaking killer. It was an absolute nightmare, and you gained maybe too much of it. From battles, from occupations, all that really actually quite hurt a bit. And then at a certain point, I don't know if it was like release or something came after release. I don't have the best memory for that. War exhaustion became something that was irrelevant and ignorable, and you never gained any, no matter how much fighting you were doing. I feel like that's a bug that just hasn't been fixed yet. And if we go back to the, very punishing war exhaustion we had at pre-release, definitely, but at certain point, if we go back to that, fantastic. That's what I would like to see. One thing with low control is that the amount of money invested by estates into rebels is higher. When it comes to war exhaustion, the impact is getting worse for 1.1. Good. Morale is 25% worse per point. I don't even think that was it was already really bad morale-wise for war exhaustion. I just feel like go back to what we had for war exhaustion gain instead of it being completely ignorable. Like, this is really necessary. Anyway, and the population is 66% worse from it. Right, okay. Question wasn't targeted at me, but honestly, it's a super interesting one. I'm going to assume it was asked in good faith. I mean, I'm probably talking about why is this a gamey mechanic. Took a random feature. I want to know what people think this is gamey and this is not. Yeah, it would be nice to know why people think. I don't know. I don't see it as gamey. I don't see it as a for me, gamey is a mechanic that has no relation to the real world. And for me, I think I made my justification why I see this as has the vibes of real history. And with my linking it to China, for example. So for me, this isn't gamey because it has some real world vibes, and I think people are seeing, oh, there is a list of modifiers, therefore gamey. That's what I feel like I'm seeing, but I don't know. Band-aid for mechanics that don't work well. I mean, is it? Comments. Okay, I'm just going to read the Yuan ones. Annexing is getting a cost in 1.1. I was worried about the backlash to it, so I might as well rip the band-aid now and confirming. For Diplo annexing? Oh, what is the cost? Okay, that's interesting. What is the cost? He's taking a deep look at the early conquests mod. I'm going to go quickly look at that. All right, I quite like this mod. I think this looks pretty goated. Okay. The objective is to slow down early game conquests. You can have claims be given by the Pope for some religious influence. That seems relatively fine. Getting a generic Parliament CB replaced with a much more expensive one. Fair enough. Generic Catholic claims replaced by early religious war claims if the targeted province is not Catholic. Fair enough. Hatery protection. Catholic nations outside the HRE can no longer form parliamentary claims on the HRE. Very cool. Doesn't count for papal claim throne, etc. Expanding into the HRE requires more care and planning. France won't be able to eat half of Germany. Cool. All the features will be utilized by the AI. That's nice. Okay. So the HRE kind of remains a little bit nicer. HRE protection, default, war of religions, options, war of religions, age of discovery, age of reformation, blah, blah, blah. What the mod doesn't do, nerfed any individuals, Bohemia blobbing, fair. I think the way that you prevent, Bohemia blobbing into the HRE is make it so that you can't get easy claims within the HRE. Like no CBs. Don't do no CBs in the HRE at all at any point. But yeah, no, it'd be interesting to see what happens there. Let's go back in here. Colonization too cheap. Should be similar to EU4 when it comes to colonization costs. Yep. Wrong culture in your country doesn't matter. It has too little impact. It should be worse than 1.1. Fair. Heathens and heretics doesn't matter much. Yep. Economy scales so hard. Anything that costs money isn't an issue. Large empires should be expensive, as is historically was. And economy is getting a huge rework for 1.1. Okay. Having a large military is too easy. There's no exponential costs, like having a force limit. I guess this is his question. Is like, do you want force limit back? I kind of don't. I think the way that you have, I do think there's no exponential cost. Like there's nothing going, no force limit to make each individual man cost more because you're going over some arbitrary gamey. Oh look, the word gamey limit. But there is, the more barracks you build, the far more expensive it is. More troops you build, the less manpower growth you get. I'm not unhappy with the way military functions. I just wish the AI was better at building larger militaries. Because barracks are freaking expensive. The barracks are absolutely hugely expensive. So I don't know. I feel like we kind of have seen that there is a large expense to having a military. I don't know. Regulars are too good. They're getting rebalanced. We already know that they're getting rebalanced. Coalitions are a joke. They do need work. Hatred doesn't defend itself. It's been changed. Certain countries start with too much money and can start all of the above too early. Some of the mid-late disasters have been reworked from 1.1, now integrating more with complacency. Fair enough. Have they adjusted the rate at which war exhaustion is gained? Yes. Occupation impact has doubled. Is that going to be enough? I don't know. I feel like it's going to be... I think we need a more impact from battles. Right? I would like to see more impact from battles on war exhaustion, especially levies. If you have a massive like levy, if like 100% of your levies is wiped out in a single battle, I think you probably should be looking at, 10 war exhaustion or something crazy like that. Also being in a civil war takes down as well. I mean, we saw that on the thing, right? Maybe that was edited. Yeah, it looks like it was edited for it. Fair enough. Okay. Well, again, these kind of videos is me basically looking for people's opinions as well. So please do leave those in the comment section below. Even if you disagree with me, I'm fine. I'm still okay to hear that sort of feedback. That is fine. But yeah, I think I'm not with the general community when it comes to this one. Or I don't know if this is a sense of loud minority over yeah, I don't know. Is this a loud minority that is talking, or is this actually the majority that don't like this? I don't know. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I know I did see some comments from people disagreeing with complacency in my comment section as well, and also on my Discord. But yeah, I don't know. It's not something I think that is the end of the world, and I'm willing to play with it. The reason that I don't think it's the end of the world is because we're seeing what it happens at 100 complacency. I think U1 basically needs to say, look, this is the amount of complacency I have in the year 1400 as this country who has expanded to this amount of land. This is now my complacency. Show me those numbers. Show me what the average player is going to be working with. Then maybe, alarm bells, or maybe that's going to quiet down the community. Who knows? Either way, let me know your thoughts. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next one. Toodaloo.